Yo, you're listening to Simmer Down 90.3 The Rock. That was California Dreamin'. Oh, one more time. California Dreamin' by Brendan Clemente. Brendan, are you there? Are you out there?
I am out here.
What is going on, man?
Not too much. Just in my studio making some music on a Sunday night.
That's what's up. Oh, man. I got Blue in the studio. I got my boy Raj from Fat Penguin in the studio. We're having a little block party. Having some fun here.
Yeah, what's up, everyone?
Block party!
Yeah. So, man, you know, I had the opportunity to come on and do the radio show a couple more times here recently, and you, my friend, are somebody I have been keeping my eye on for quite a while now, man. I think you have one of the most amazing voices out there. Your songwriting is absolutely incredible. And not to mention, your mentors and the people you're working with are the top of the scene right now. The Stick Crew and that whole vibe out there, man. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do and where you come from.
Yeah, well, that was way too kind of you, but I really appreciate that. So I guess I started off in New Hampshire. That's where I was. That's where I was raised, and I was definitely not a natural with music. I tried playing the saxophone when I was in 5th grade, and I was by far the slowest person in our entire school band to learn it. I completely faked my way through a recital because I didn't know how to play the notes, and I just let everyone else kind of take care of that for me. So music wasn't necessarily something, or playing instruments wasn't necessarily something that came naturally to me. But I guess I kind of actually got my real, what I would consider my real start was when I was in high school. My little brother saved up and bought an acoustic guitar. And for whatever reason, I was at a point in my life where that clicked for me as being something cool that I wanted to spend a lot of time on. And my poor little brother, I stole the guitar from him. I would get home from school before him, and I would basically hijack it, lock myself in my room, and play it. And and that kind of just like sealed the deal as far as me getting interested in music. And then it wasn't until after I graduated college, I moved out to San Diego. Me and a buddy of mine, we just basically hopped in an old Subaru wagon and drove across the country. We had our series of mishaps and breakdowns on the way, but we landed in California, and it was there that you're kind of at that point in your life where you have to start thinking about a plan. And
yes,
and music. I knew music was something that was important to me and that I loved. I didn't really know how to do anything with it, but I was fortunate enough after a long series of Craigslist ads and stuff. I found a few musicians out there that were playing music that I thought was really cool, and they kind of ended up giving me my crash course in music, like as far as like the booking shows, promoting, trying to fill venues, like all these things I had never thought about before. How to have a stage presence, like that was where I kind of developed all that part. So that band was kind of my main jump into creating music on a more professional level. And I ended up kind of, I ended up leaving the band because I was started thinking about things, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to live in San Diego forever. And I didn't really have like a stake in the band per se. Like I was putting so much time into it. I think I put like 6 years into it, and I didn't like. I guess I just saw myself wanting to be able to do this wherever I was without anyone else. So that's kind of what turned me toward the kind of solo artist thing. And like you mentioned, Stick Figure. I was lucky enough to know Stick Figure. I've known those guys for a while now, largely from San Diego. And I kind of looked at Scott's story, and I was like, this guy just started producing music in his room. He taught himself everything. He played every instrument. Like, that you can actually do. That's feasible thing. That's a feasible thing to do. And for me, that was like a light bulb. I was like, I'm gonna throw a home studio on my credit card, and I know it's gonna take me long to learn all this production stuff, but I knew that ultimately it would be an advantage to be able to do that stuff. So I jumped into that, and here we are.
So if you guys are just tuning in, you're wicked late, as we would say up in the Northeast. We got Brendan Clemente on the telephone here. You're in Minneapolis right now, right?
Yeah, St. Paul.
Yeah, St. Paul. And man, he's up and coming artist who's been fighting the urge for many years. You know, I didn't know that you had a project with a band for 6 years. What was the name of that band?
It was the Stir Crazies.
The Stir Crazies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they, it was really cool. Like I said, I kind of like learned how things worked behind the scenes with them. Mm-hmm. And honestly, when I went out solo, I was worried I was going to be starting over again, which in a lot of ways I was. It was a whole new project, but all the connections that I developed while in the Stir Crazies. I mean, I met Six Figure while I was in the Stir Crazies. That's how I became better friends with them, because we would both play shows around the local scene and stuff. And we Stir Crazies ended up playing Cali Roots in 2014. And, the Cali Roots crew and like the people that put the festival on and everything, they're people I consider good friends and everything now. And it's like, I just had all these amazing connections. So it wasn't, going solo wasn't quite starting all over, but it was in a certain way,
Yeah. And hey, shout out to Cali Roots family and Ineffable, Dan and Amy and Thomas and Reed and that whole crew, man. Cali Roots don't play games. And, I can just see these posts that Dan's been putting out there like, God, I want my festival back. I want live music.
No, I know it. They're just some of the best people I've ever met, and they've done wonders for me in lots of ways. They've supported me for a long time, so I'm very, very fortunate to have come across them.
How cool was it? How are you feeling right before that set when you got to play a little set with Kyle, right?
Yeah. That was so that was 2019. So I got to play Cali Roots Acoustic. So that was actually my second time playing the fest, and I did an acoustic with Kyle Smith, and that was one of the craziest things, because that whole thing, I don't know if you heard this, but that started as like a Facebook post. I don't remember exactly who posted it, but like I said, wouldn't it be rad if like I jammed Cali Roots Acoustic with someone like Kyle or something? And Kyle like responded and was like, "Oh, that'd be sick." And I blog for the festival and I work for them. I help with their social media team every year, and so I just kind of like asked. I reached out to Dan and Amy. I was like, "Hey, do you think I could jam acoustic?" And I was pitching them like me sitting in a corner with Kyle Smith somewhere, not even on a stage, just like jamming somewhere around the grounds. And they were like, "No problem, we'll get you on the pop-up stage as one of our featured artists." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." Like I hadn't even really asked Kyle officially.
Boom, baby.
So, so I basically called Kyle up. I was like, "Hey, man," I was like, "You still down for Cali Roots?" He's like, "What, are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." I flew out to California a week before the festival. I practiced with him one time. We spent like a full day practicing, learning each other's songs, and then we played a 30-minute set.
I wish I've been trying to find some videos of that. I found a couple things, but you know what? There will be many more videos, I'm sure, of you and Cali Roots and doing stuff. Have you thought about getting a band together? I mean, it's a tough thing. It's like, as a solo artist, there's pros and cons, and then in a band, there's pros and cons. What are you thinking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I'm kind of, I would call it like, again, like the amount of my game plan I've kind of borrowed from Stick Figure is it's crazy. But I really like what Scott did in the sense that before he was ever focusing on live shows, he was getting his music out to the world, and he essentially, in so many ways, he did that from his bedroom. He kind of, I mean, a lot of people give him credit for his musical prowess, which is definitely unquestioned, but I don't think as many people realize how great of a job he did marketing his music online.
Absolutely.
Before that was ever a super popular thing. Like, he was reaching out to people on MySpace. He had, what was it, the Sublime Archives, I think. He was like getting his music out through the very few little distribution networks there were. He was out like putting in that groundwork and laying that foundation long before he ever really seriously thought about touring. And once they were ready to do that, once they were ready to hit the road, they already had an audience, largely around the world that was ready to see them.
Yeah.
And I think that is my general plan with things. I would love to put a band together. I would love to tour and everything, but I'm going to kind of build that sort of foundation first to the point where there's that demand for the shows, and there's, and when we can really put something meaningful together as far as a band.
Absolutely. And, Stick, you're so right. I mean, I think it was the first 4 or 5 records, I mean, he did by himself. I mean, like keys, guitar, drums, vocal, everything. And, years and years and years ago, when I first started this radio show, or first came on as the new host, he was still not out. I mean, he was out in Fiji, running around doing whatever he wants to do. But there was no Stick Figure band, unless you're like some random spot in OB, like in the middle of, or Santa Monica or something on the pier, whatever it may be. Every once in a while, he would do that. And I met up with him on that first tour with, I think it was Tribal Seeds. And I'd been hitting him up over and over. I was like, you have got to get a band together and get on the road. This music is something different and something very powerful. And fast forward, look where he is now at the very...
It seriously warms my heart seeing it, just because I was fortunate enough to kind of view that journey from the outside, because I actually originally met Scott back in college. Like, before, I didn't even know he was in a band. Like, he went to college up in Burlington, Vermont, and I went in New Hampshire, and I went up to visit some buddies, and I met him at like a house party. And to give you some insight on how good of a memory Scott has, Scott saw me at a bar in San Diego, like, probably like 6 or 7 years after that. And he came up, he's like, hey, you're familiar, man. And like, he's like, do I know you from somewhere? I didn't recognize him. And I was thinking I was all cool because I was in my band at that point. I was like, oh, you might recognize me from my band, like just being a total idiot. And he was like, yeah. He's like, I don't think so, though. He's like, I feel like I know you from the Northeast. And he's like, are you from there? Or did you live up there? And I was like, oh, yeah. And we got to talking and realized that's kind of how we initially met. And it turned out he was actually playing with Stick Figure at the bar that night. I didn't even realize that was his band.
Wow. Yeah, man. It's, and I honestly, I feel you doing what he's done. And there's a big serious thing in my life. Like, when I look at artists, I said, number one, you got to be talented. If you're not talented, unfortunately, you need to go get talented, and then we can go to number 2. I mean, that's just how it goes. No, I mean, number 2, you got to be something unique. But number 3, man, you got to be good people. And the Stick crew, I've toured with them. They're just wonderful people that are always down to mentor people that they believe in. Man, I think they believe in you, and I believe in you, and a lot of other people believe in you. How can we find you? Let's figure this out real quick. How can we find you?
Well, I'm on, all the traditional social medias. I'm on Instagram at Brendan Clemente Music. I think I'm the same on TikTok, but to be honest, I haven't kept up with TikTok much. That's kind of been an in and out thing. On Facebook, Brendan Clemente Music, or just even reaching out to my my personal profile, Brendan Clemente, on there, and then my music's on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, all that fun stuff.
What do you think about the social media right now? Is it freaking you out? It's freaking me out a little bit.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It can be. It can basically. I see it, and I choose to continue focusing on this aspect of it. It's the way right now for me to help get my music out to the world, and for lots of people to do that. And it can be in a very effective way to kind of build a base of people, a community that's looking to kind of be on the same vibe that you're on, and like listen to the same music and share fun experiences. And like there is that beauty there. There are good things and good people. The noise, which it feels like gets louder and louder, of just like divisiveness and just straight up crazy stuff. I can't pretend I don't see that, and I just have to kind of scroll past and find what I'm looking for and remember the bigger picture of it all, I guess, because I think that you can get sucked into focusing on the issues and negativity, and I've seen people that get sucked into that, and it can wear you out and burn you out, even past musical goals or anything. As a person, that can be just draining on your motivation to do anything. So I've largely kind of just dealt with it in that way, where I look at it as a tool to help get my music out there and not focused on some of the more negative aspects of it.
I mean, nobody wants negative, but you got to experience the negative to get to the positive.
Absolutely, and you have to, I always, I guess I try and be like a pretty optimistic person in general, and I always explain it as optimism isn't ignoring the negative things that are going on. It's taking those and trying to figure out how you can make the best of the situation or help. It's not just like pretending bad things don't exist, right?
Attaboy. Well said. I love it. If you're just tuning in, you're very late. But we're talking with Brendan Clemente. He's in St. Paul, the Minneapolis area. Man, he's this upcoming artist that I can't get enough of. You got to check him out at Brendan Clemente Music. We got some things to talk about, man. I had a lot of stuff to talk about. Time. Tell us about this track. It seems to be your breakout move here. Cosmic from Stick Figure, who has been crushing the production game in this scene lately, by the way. Just worked with you and created a beautiful piece of music. I remember when that thing came out, and I listened to it. I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting on my porch, and I heard it, and I was like, "Ooh, this is effing dope." Like, I really, really love that track, man, and that's what really got me into you. And a lot of other people seem to be hitting on it. There's thousands and thousands of streams on this now. Tell us about Time.
Yeah, so time is crazy, and thank you for it just, I guess, just to start it, like, when I think you were one of the first people that reached out to me after it was released. Actually, you messaged me, you found me online, and you were like, bro, like, what is this, and how did you create? Like, you were immediately psyched about it, and getting that reaction from a listener is, I think, like, the top of what a musician can aspire to or hope for. The song basically, I I was in the middle of last winter. It was like December, and I hadn't released a song for a long time. And I was having one of my self-conscious artist months, and I was just like, I need to put something out there. I need to I need to help people realize that I'm still working on music. It's just taking me a while. I have a lot to learn. And I challenged myself to write a song in a week. I was like, I'm going to write it, produce it, and release it. It's probably not going to be good, but at least people will have something to listen to. And it's kind of an engaging story. Like, hey, at least I tried to put something out there. And it started off pretty rough. Like, it didn't sound great, at least to my ears. But around midweek, I added a piano part to it that I thought really gave it some glue. And I started hearing potential. I was like, actually, this song could be kind of cool. Like, it might actually not be as terrible as I thought. So I'm toward the end of the week, I'm gearing up to release it the next Monday. And I posted a snippet of it on social media. And I got a lot of good feedback on it from people. And Johnny was one of the people. Johnny Cosmic was one of the people who had liked the post, and he commented that he was really into it. And then the day before I was going to release it, he messaged me on Facebook and was like, "Hey man," he's like, "Would you want to possibly collab on that song?"
No way! I did not know that.
I'm just like, I remember I was sitting in my basement with some family, and I was like, I stopped the conversation. I was like to my wife, I was like, whoa. Like, Johnny Cosmic just messaged me and asked me to collab. We were all, like, freaking out.
Wow, I did not know that, dude. Huh.
Yeah. So it's just, like, and, like, he, obviously being the humble person he is, he, like, very so kindly, like, oh, would you want to maybe collab on that with me? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like,
wow.
Yeah, so I sent him over the track stems a couple days later, and it was one of those things, like, from what I'm told, is kind of the classic Cosmic move in a lot of senses. He basically stayed up overnight, pulled an all-nighter, worked on it for like 8 or 12 hours, and then sent me the new mix in the morning, and I was like just blown away. I was like, whoa. He basically finished. I mean, we did some touch-ups over the next month, but it was largely just details,
He's a magical entity, man, and it's the more and more I get to know him and see what he's doing, not just with Stick Figure but with his production, it is just unbelievable. I mean, the stuff that movement track that he put out, I mean, he's doing everything, and it's just sounding just groovy. I mean, everything he's doing. And that time track, which we're going to listen to here after we get off the phone with you, man, I think that's your big break, man. That's the one. And
I'm so stoked on how it came out, and like just permanently indebted to Johnny and Ineffable and stuff for seeing potential in some, like, I don't have a huge following or anything. I'm not like, I'm certainly no rock star, like, but they I guess they saw enough potential in the music itself, which is the ultimate compliment to me, is that they were interested in that aspect of it. Like, the music to me is always like the core. Like, I want to create meaningful songs, and the fact that they heard the potential for that in there is just it makes my day.
Well, it made a lot of people's day, man, because we're all discovering who Brendan Clemente is, man, and don't forget this name, Brendan Clemente Music. All the socials. Got a few more questions for you, and then we'll let you get back to whatever's going on in Minnesota.
Thank you.
So. Man, this is going to be a little bit tougher here. This year has been absolutely alien, and I'm not talking alien in a cool green guy way. I'm talking like, wow, what's going on here, especially with our country. How have you dealt with this chaos, man, especially living in the epicenter of one of the latest racial divides? in our country?
Yeah. That is, it's a question that I feel like I've been pondering this question for the past 6-7 months, which is, I guess, in self-reflection, like as far as me personally, it begs the question: why have I not been pondering this issue for way longer in a more meaningful way? Seeing just the kind of flashpoints, if you will, like George Floyd and stuff, where that video was, it was heartbreaking. I can't even talk about it. Like, I have goosebumps on my arms right now. It shook me. It just made me rethink everything. Like, and for a while it was just, it was an overwhelming wave of like, what is happening? What is, like, I couldn't make sense of anything. And it gradually turned into my kind of process for dealing with stuff is to like research it and to learn about it and to say, okay, like, where, this isn't just a random thing. There are obviously lots of people who have been feeling lots of feelings for a long time, and there are all these like really dark stains on our history, and I learned about them, I guess, in school sometimes, but what I've kind of been finding is that it was largely a headline in a textbook and then nothing else of substance. And so I've just been kind of taking it upon myself to research and to look back at how things went down and to kind of do some soul searching on how do we get to this place? How did all this happen? Why is this happening? And in doing so, I feel like I guess I would say I'm still tip of the iceberg. Like, I don't have answers. I don't know how to do things. All I know is that when I see people who are feeling terrible and suffering and witnessing murders and feeling unsafe, and when I see that, I just my instinct is to like try and help, and I don't even know what that means, but like to try and say, like, to have a conversation, like, what can I do? Like, how can I be a better person? How can I not be someone that stands by while this is happening? How can I not like just be someone who's doing nothing? What can I actually do that's meaningful? And honestly, it's I like I said, I feel like I'm at the tip of the iceberg. I think I have a long way to go in really understanding anything at any sort of meaningful level, if that's possible. But yeah, it's kind of, I think that lots of people, or I hope that lots of people are reflecting it too, and saying, hey, how can we help? How can we be allies here? How can we make this better? How do we fix these things? And I think that too many people have kind of been cruising on the assumption that, hey, everything's cool, like, because I'm not experiencing anything directly in my life, and to really kind of reach down and empathetically learn about the situation and put yourself in someone else's shoes. And I think for all the terrible things, I see some people going into that kind of reflection and at least trying to do something or trying to be an ally. And I think it's good that people have that reflection and that these feedback loops, even in terrible incidents, that they reverberate through society, and hopefully we can look at them and say, hey, how do we make this better, and how do we move forward in a meaningful way? I feel like I'm just rambling because I'm still at the tip of the iceberg of my journey into this, and I don't have the firsthand experience. I just kind of see what I see and try and be the best ally I can.
Help, for real, man.
You can definitely feel that through your music.
It's a weird time. It really is, man. I was just talking with Evan from Indubious, and like, you know, everybody's got their own perspective on it and how everything's going, whatever. And it's just a weird time, and you just got to stay positive. And somebody needs help them out. You know.
Yeah, definitely. It's you know, and it's like that. And I think that at least this is what I kind of gather myself. Like I said, I get kind of interested in learning the history at a really in-depth level, and I've been kind of researching that. And I think one kind of common thread throughout history is, you know, just because something happened 400 years ago or 500 or 1,000, you know, these things still have reverberations throughout time, right up to the present, you know? Like, things that happened a long time ago still influence us. And I think that's kind of largely discounted or just not acknowledged a lot in our society. It's kind of like, we move forward, which you know, there's something to moving forward, but you have to learn from and acknowledge the history too. Good parts, bad parts. You have to be willing to kind of look in the mirror and see that, and see which parts of those things that happened, and this going back thousands of years, like things that happened that still affect who we are today. And I think that there's a usefulness in kind of digging down into that and reflecting on it a little bit. You know, it's a humbling process to realize all of the inputs that brought us to where we are.
Oh, absolutely. Looking back sometimes is the best way to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brendan, man, thank you so much for calling in. We really appreciate it, man. If you guys don't know about Brendan Clemente, you should check him out. And whenever this jamdemic, pandemic, no-show thing leaves, I foresee beautiful things for you, man.
I really appreciate you having me on, and for again, just for being one of the, you know, you're one of the first people who kind of reached out. Like I said, I'm not like I'm not a big artist by any means, so it's like it means a lot to me that people like you feel something in the music and want to talk about it and get it out there. So I'm very permanently indebted to you too, my friend.
Well, you'll see. Just wait. Hey, we got a track we're doing together, man. That's going to be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Blues on it. You know, my little project, The Islands. Man, super stoked to have you on Music Makes Us Happy. You guys stay tuned for that. That one's more info coming on that in a little bit. But, hey, I got to get off we got to get off the phone here. We're almost ready for the next show to come on, but I love talking with you, man. This is amazing. But I got one more question for you. Every single time I interview somebody for the first time, they get the same question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in. We really appreciate it. What does reggae mean to you?
Well, I heard you ask Evan that question, and I definitely don't think I can give as beautiful or spiritual or eloquent as an answer as he gave. But to me, it is a music that basically was born out of a lot of, talk about bad things happening, a lot of violence, a lot of oppression, a lot of suffering, forced slavery, just an almost incomprehensible bad situation for a lot of people. And people finding somewhere in that darkness the ability to still persevere and create something so heartbreakingly beautiful and soulful, and to create a light out of that darkness and to shine that out. And like you guys were talking about before, it's all over the world, and people feel that soul in music, and that that is a style of music that, you know, you can't imitate that soul, that original vibe that it was born out of. You know, it's when music really hits that emotional spot in people, and when it comes from something like that, it's impossible not to, right?
Brendan, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys don't know about Brendan Clemente, you'll know soon. He's going to blow up. He's going to be a superstar. He's got a voice like butter. He's writing all the dopest tunes on the planet right now. We love you so much, man. Thank you so much for calling in. And, man, enjoy the rest of your evening. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Alex. Love you, man. Appreciate all of you. Have a great night.
Much love.
You too, Clemente.
Yeah, baby.
He's going to get fat on that butter.